You're tuned to the best newscast in Indiana on Wish TV, Channel 8. This is News 8 with Mike Ahern, Debbie Knox, weather with Stan Wood, and sports with Ed Harding.
Good evening. The streets weren't completely deserted tonight. A few people did roam the shopping malls. There were occasional signs of life. But for the most part, Indiana was front of its collective television sets tonight for the event.
And we're talking, of course, about Indiana and Purdue. 40 minutes on a basketball floor in West Lafayette with the Big Ten championship at stake. Ed Harding is there, and Jim Barber is here now to recap the big game.
Could the game be any louder?
Oh, I think we heard it.
Yes, it affects the ears. What a great game it was. Everything the building was and more. War of the Worlds Part 2 tonight, and it belongs to the Boilermakers 75-64. Standing room only on the Boilermaker campus, over 14,123. The Big Ten champs from 84 honored. Gene Keady pulling out all the stops tonight, emotionally trying to get this victory as the Boilermakers won it and pulled within one half game of IU in the Big Ten lead. Bob Knight dressed accordingly once again. A lot of people showed up with their favorite sweaters. Meanwhile, Purdue above the rim. Everett Stevens with the slam. Boilermakers by 7 on a 16-6 run in the first half. Jeff Arnold's jumper at the end of the first half made it a 9-point lead at 37-28, and the volume got turned up again. Eventually, 42-30 on a Doug Lee three-pointer. Boilermakers looking for a blowout, but back came Indiana. Watch Keith Smart with his great move to the hoop, and 2 to cut it to 7. And moments later, Darryl Thomas, who had 18 points and eventually fouled out, will cut the lead to 1 at 53-52 Purdue. But down the stretch, it's all free throws for the Boilermakers in their 75-64 victory. Purdue celebrates, and our Ed Harding on the scene with the winners, the Purdue Boilermakers.
Congratulations, Gene. I know you've had a lot of big ones in your career, but this has to be a terrific week. 2 terrific games and wins.
It's a great win, and of course, we're still alive in the Big Ten race for championship, so I couldn't be proud of our kids. They fought hard.
This is the most important game I ever played in so far at Purdue, and we happen to play Indiana tonight, and it was a great victory for us.
A great victory indeed. We'll have more on the entire story, more interviews and such coming up.
Thanks, Jim.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. Well, getting a prime position in an area bar to watch that game tonight was almost as tough as securing a ticket to the game itself. At the sports bar downtown, no one was afraid to show his or her colors, even in the most unlikely places. It was standing room only down there. The crowd split almost evenly between Purdue and Indiana fans, and of course there were many on hand just to join in the good time. The televisions were tuned in perfectly, and for some, like this man, the merriment and the pandemonium were secondary to the game.
Well, a bar was the scene Saturday night where a semi-cab came crashing through the outside wall, killing one woman and injuring 18 others. Today, the man behind the wheel was charged with murder and 23 counts of attempted murder. Police say 33-year-old Kenneth Metzler had been drinking and that he had had a fight with his girlfriend at the Benchwarmer pub, went home and then returned in his semi-cab. Among the injured, Nina Farrell is still recovering from a concussion and internal injuries, but she told News 8 she's more upset with herself than with Metzler.
I think I'm more angry with being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I know, I don't know, I guess I should be in a way, but it isn't going to help me any.
Metzler will be held in the Marion County Jail without bond until his trial date in May.
It has taken 24 years and 2 jury verdicts, but tonight it looks as if the book has finally been closed on the death of a little girl from Daleville, Indiana. Tonight, her stepmother, Rowena Patterson, was convicted of murder. Mark Voigtman reports.
What happened back in 1963? For almost 20 years, the verdict had been accidental death. Authorities believe the story of this woman, Rowena Patterson, who said her 6-year-old stepdaughter, Rita, had fallen down the stairs. But that was until the stepdaughter's sister, now a grown woman, came forward with a very different story. She says Rowena Patterson savagely beat the little girl to death.
I was there when it happened. Rita was beat to death. There's no ands, ifs, buts, no doubt in my mind. I don't need a jury or a judge or anybody to tell me because I know what happened. I've seen it.
And so began a series of trials, the prosecution alleging a big cover-up, the defense saying it was in fact an accident. Just 3 years ago, a jury found Rowena Patterson guilty of murder, but later that verdict was thrown out. The reason? 2 younger children had not been allowed to testify. At this trial, they did. The 2 brothers, who were 4 and 5 years old at the time, testified that their half-sister fell down the stairs. But in the end, the second jury did not believe them. It convicted the mother of murder. Rowena Patterson faces possible life imprisonment. Mark Voigtman in Muncie, Wish TV, News 8.
Well, while Rowena Patterson has yet to be sentenced for her crime, a young man who lived in Anderson for a short time learned today that he'll be spending the next 30 years of his life behind bars. 18-year-old Michael Sullivan was sentenced to 60 years for murder and 50 years for the molestation of 6-year-old Tamika Larry. The sentences will be served concurrently, and under Indiana law, Sullivan must serve at least 30 years before he'll be eligible for parole. Sullivan pleaded guilty to the crime to avoid a trial in which the prosecutor was seeking the death penalty.
It was a wrong policy, and it was the president's policy.
But one thing is very, very clear, that members of the system who were privy to what was going on failed the president.
It appears the wheels are already in motion for a major shakeup at the White House.
I pledge to the American people today that I will do whatever is necessary to enact the proper reforms and to meet the challenges ahead.
One challenge for the president will be to find a replacement for Chief of Staff Donald Regan, who almost certainly is going to be fired in the wake of today's Tower Commission report. The commission said Regan must take a lion's share of the blame for the secret arms sale to Iran and attempts to cover it up. But the commission made it clear there was plenty of blame to go around, from a national security operation that was out of control to a president who was out of touch.
The report is a starkly drawn picture of a plan to trade arms for hostages in direct opposition to U.S. policy, a deliberate attempt by the staff to cover it up when it became public, and a president who did not know what was going on in the White House.
I think he was not aware of a lot of the things that were going on and the way the operation was structured and who was involved in it. Yes, the president made mistakes. I think that's very plain English. The president did make mistakes.
The report says the president had no knowledge of the cover-up and that he didn't know about the diversion of funds to the Contras. But as far as the Iran deal was concerned, says the report, the president did not seem to be aware of the way in which the operation was implemented, nor did he try to find out. At no time did he insist upon accountability and performance review.
It is the president who must take responsibility for the NSC system and deal with the consequences.
But there is also scathing criticism of top administration aides. Of Chief of Staff Donald Regan, the commission charges he must bear primary responsibility for the chaos that descended upon the White House.
Do this fast.
As the scandal deepened, Regan tried to distance himself.
Does the bank president know whether a teller in the bank is fiddling around with the books? No.
But the board rejected his position.
More than almost any chief of staff of recent memory, he asserted personal control over the White House staff and sought to extend his control to the National Security Advisor.
Oliver North, portrayed as the key player in a rogue operation with enormous responsibility for both Iran arms and private Contra aides, but a man given to fantasies about his role who actively sought to conceal important information. John Poindexter also failed grievously. His clear obligation was either to investigate the matter or take it to the president, or both. He did neither.
But perhaps the most astonishing part of the Tower Commission report was the private operation that National Security Advisor Poindexter and his aide, Colonel North, set up, including a secret computer link between them.
Judging from the messages, both men were intensely loyal to their country, but almost contemptuous of their own government. The CIA are really bunglers, Poindexter complained to North in the midst of trying to arrange Robert McFarland's now famous, then secret trip to Iran. My part in this was easy compared to Poindexter's, North told McFarland. I only had to deal with our enemies. He has to deal with the cabinet.
The Tower report draws a picture of a small band of zealous patriots, focused on action, oblivious to the risk they were running.
There should have been bells ringing, lights flashing, and so on, so that there was no question what the consequences of his pursuing this policy was.
North turned to outsiders like retired General Richard Secord to do what the CIA couldn't or wouldn't do. The authority North assumed was breathtaking at times. When he first proposed secretly aiding the Contras, McFarland's reaction was, I don't think this is legal. But North persisted, and by 1986 was running his own network. This is his own diagram of that network, which had assets estimated at nearly $5 million. He directly coordinated weapons deliveries to the Contras and apparently lied about it to the Congress.
Well, the commission concluded it was people, not the system, who failed, and it left open one major question. What happened to the money from the Iranian arms sale? How much, if any, got to the Contras? It's a question that remains unanswered.
For now, however, the president is being urged to move forward and away from the Iran arms scandal. And Indiana Congressman Dan Burton is one of those hoping for quick changes within the Reagan cabinet.
President Reagan, you have great instincts. You instinctively make the right decision when you have all the facts before you. And I hope that your new chief of staff, whomever that may be, will grant accessibility to you by members of your cabinet and other subordinates so that you'll have all the facts and you can make the right decision on these issues.
Burton, a Republican, represents Indiana's 6th congressional district. Stan's forecast coming up right after this.
NASA enjoyed another launch pad success this evening when this Delta rocket lifted off from Cape Canaveral. On board is a $55 million hurricane hunting satellite. It will be dropped off 22,300 miles above South America and will provide crucial coverage of hurricanes and other major storm systems off the American East Coast.
Now, nothing major about this, but there is a little system heading our way coming up in the south.
Glad to hear about that satellite now. We've been running with the one that normally gives us the west coast view. So now that we've got our friend back over the east coast, we'll get this west one shifted back there, and then we'll have 2 satellites showing us the entire spread over the U.S. Well, as Mike alludes to, we do have a change in the weather coming. It's not here yet, but it's close. Clouds have covered our sky all day. They're cloudy out there now. 41 degrees at the airport, 43 in the city. Dew point at 18. The air is still dry at the surface. Relative humidity only 39%. A northeast wind at 14 miles per hour. Steady barometric pressure at 30.30 inches of mercury. Now let's take the National Weather Service radar. We're painting showers from just about Bloomington all the way down to the Ohio River. They're moving agonizingly slowly northward, less than 10 miles per hour. So it's going to be a while before we get them here in the metro area. But get them, we shall, that's for sure. That's live radar from the Weather Service. This is the way it looks now as far as thermometer readings around the 5-state travel zone and current conditions, with rain showers being reported from St. Louis, Evansville, also down in the Louisville and Lexington area, cloudy throughout the entire 5-state travel zone. Roving thermometer on the scene at Anderson up in Madison County, where Beals Chapel United Methodist Church invites you to attend a chicken and noodle supper. Those ladies know how to cook those chicken and noodles, friends. That's coming up tomorrow right there at the church. And we can tell you via the roving thermometer, it's 39 degrees on the streets of Anderson, Indiana. Topside we go to take a look at that satellite, the one that's been doing all the work. He'll shift westward now that the new one's parked in an orbit that'll give us this eastern view. But for now, we're settling for this view to show you all the clouds from way down in the southern plains up into the Great Lakes area. And it's snowing right now from central sections of the Rockies and the southern Rockies all the way up to the Dakotas. And a massive area of moisture is moving northward because we've got a system down here that's thrusting in northward. Also out here we'll see another feed coming in ahead of this approaching cold front. High pressure balancing that and trying to hold it south. That's why that rain is moving very slowly northward. But it has come into the northern or the southern third of Indiana. And as you can see, there's a strong line of showers all the way down to the coastal sections of Texas with thunderstorms embedded along the Gulf. Some pretty good rainfall out here in the plain states and in the higher elevations of the Rockies, snow. And it's beginning to turn to snow up here into the Dakotas as well. Temperatures very cold from the northern Rockies through the northern half of the plains, and it warmed a little in the northeast, stayed kind of cool down here in the southeast. We were warmer than Atlanta today. The nation's low, that was 17 below at Cut Bank and West Yellowstone, Montana. Hot spots were Fort Myers and Sarasota, Bradenton, Florida, with 84 degrees. Tomorrow's weather map, well, the high will have shifted off there to the Atlantic coast. We'll see that frontal system getting a little closer to Indiana. That low down there over the lower Mississippi Valley is going to be our weather maker, along with this trough here. So look for a massive area of rainfall over the eastern third of the country, thunderstorms over the Gulf states, and snow to the west of this system where the cold air is gradually moving eastward. Highest readings in our state tomorrow, 40s here and about 50s downstate. And well, today we tried for 50 and settled for 47 as the high. Our low was 31. So far we've had no rainfall, but that will change because for tonight, good chance of rain later on. Our low about 38, and then tomorrow will be cloudy and blustery with a chilly rain falling almost all of the day. The high about 45. Tomorrow night, rainy and breezy with a low of 42. And on Saturday, windy and mild with showers, the high about 50. Then it cools off drastically Sunday, chance of a few flurries, maybe in the 30s for the high. Partly sunny and 30s on Monday, fair and 40 on Tuesday. The Weather Service has now issued its March outlook. We expect near normal temperatures here and drier than normal conditions. How about the trek into spring? This takes us March, April, May. Near normal temperatures likely here and near normal rainfall. That sounds pretty good. Here's your travel weather tomorrow. keep your feet dry. That's not going to be easy because tomorrow shapes up as a very, very moist Friday around the Midwest.
And the last day of this month.
We hope.
Well, we hope, yeah. Doesn't have any more, does it? Thank you, staff. Coming up, Jim Barber and Fred Harding. We will hear from them, however, up in West Lafayette right after this.
And I'm Dick Ray, live at Market Square Arena, where the Butler Bulldogs are coming back from the dead against Xavier. We'll come back live next in sports.
I'm trying to get rid of February before it's time. It's Saturday's the last day.
Saturday's the last
day.
Who's keeping score, right?
You are.
Yeah, lots of scores tonight.
Oh, what a great game tonight, West Lafayette. You know, Dean Garrett said we want the title more than Purdue, and Garrett tonight fouled out for Indiana, had only 2 points, and that was a big difference in the game. As we told you at the top, it's payback for the Boilermakers after losing by 11 at Indiana. Tonight, it's Purdue by 11, 75-64, and IU's Big Ten lead over the Boilermakers is down to 1/2 game. The two coaches in command tonight hoping for a thriller. That's Bob Knight, Indiana, and Gene Cady of the Boilermakers. And it was a thriller for most of the game. For Purdue, Doug Lee with a 3-point bomb, and the Boilermakers with the early lead in the first half. Important play coming up right here for the Hoosiers in the red uniforms, the dark uniforms visiting. Smart will get the basket for Indiana. But after he scores, Indiana does not get back on defense. And the Boilermakers get a big transition hoop at the end of the first half. Watch how Purdue gets it down the floor very quickly. Jeff Arnold's wide open for the jumper. And at halftime, the Boilermakers lead 37-28. But credit Indiana. Hoosiers didn't give up in this one. They were down by 12 at one point and came back. Darryl Thomas with 18 points before he fouled out. Started to come back, and with Crawford, who had 15, hits this basket. Purdue's lead is down to 2. Eventually, it reached down to 1. But down the stretch, it's all free throws for the Boilermakers. This man, Todd Mitchell, with a game-high 19, nailed a couple here. And moments later, Mitchell will again step to the free throw line, coming through in the clutch. And then finally, it's Troy Lewis with a couple of free throws. He had 18 points. He was another hero in the game. Hoosier Busters tonight in West Lafayette. Boilermakers win it by 11. Ed Harding with the winners.
I'm with Troy Lewis here on the floor. Troy, any greater victory over Indiana in your career at Purdue?
No, this is the most important game I ever played in so far at Purdue. And we happen to play Indiana tonight, and it was a great victory for us.
You know, in the early second half, explain this to me if you could. Early in the second half, you kind of spread out your offense a little, and Indiana was able to get back into the game, particularly a good contribution from Thomas.
Well, we just tried to be a little more patient and get the ball inside and get them in foul trouble, and that's about what it was.
Gene, congratulations. Terrific win tonight. Appreciate the time.
And while number 3 was losing tonight, number 2 North Carolina came through 77-71. Back in the Big Ten, Iowa, an easy winner over Michigan State tonight by almost 30. Meanwhile, at the arena, the MCC tournament opening round going on. Butler and Xavier are finishing up. Dick Ray is live at the arena. Last time we talked to you, Dick, you said Butler was coming back, and they made it.
Here's the situation, Jim. We have a minute to go. Butler is only down by 5 points. That's amazing because early in the second half, Butler trailed by 28 points. Let's go live now to the action. We're getting set to put the ball into play. The Bulldogs will have the basketball. Darren Fitzgerald has scored 27 points tonight for Butler and has become the first Bulldog player to score over 2,000 points in the season. And Darren will be at the free throw line with a chance to get Butler within 3 points. An amazing run for the Bulldogs considering the course of action this game has taken. These two teams are playing now for the third time. Butler is looking for its first ever victory in an MCC tournament. The first free throw is good. It's now Xavier 97, Butler 93. This has been an amazing comeback for Butler because they were down by 20 with about 6 minutes to go. The missed shot, the rebound there by Xavier. They'll go down to the other end of the free throw line. We have 57 seconds now remaining. Butler trying to move on. The winner of this game will play Loyola tomorrow night at 9:05. Hopefully we can update you later on in sports. I'm Dick Ray live at the arena. Let's send it back to Jim Barber.
Thank you, Dick. We won't leave anybody in suspense. We'll try to go back for the end of that one. Meanwhile, tonight at the arena, the first game, as mentioned, Loyola winner over Detroit by a score of 80-75. Let's go to the NBA. Moses Malone out of the lineup tonight for the Bullets, but the Pacers play a lousy first half and get beat by 6, 100-94. Can you believe the Pacers with only 38 points in the first half? Too much Bullets, too much inside game. Jeff Malone with a basket there, and the Pacers were in trouble, down by 14 in the first half. At 52-38, it was child's play for the Bullets in the first half, more or less. Sorry about that, Mike. Anyway, the Pacers got on offense in the second half. Vern Fleming off the steal. Pacers in the dark uniforms. And Fleming, nice drive and a nice layup right there. Indiana got close. In fact, within 6 and even less than 6 points, I believe, in this game. But the Bullets were too tough. Fleming tried it again inside against 7-7 Manute Bol. And off the steal, here come the Bullets and the basket. And Washington comes up with the victory by 6, 100-94. The Bulls beat New Jersey tonight, 128-113. Michael Jordan, 58 points. 58 for Michael tonight. While San Antonio leads in the fourth quarter of Philadelphia, 91-88. Utah, 68. Houston, 63. Second quarter, Golden State, 27. And the Clippers, 19 in the second quarter. As we mentioned, though, Butler playing a thriller right now. Had a 28-point deficit to make up. They have cut it to 5. I think we have time to go back to Dick Ray quickly. Dick, what's happening right now?
48 seconds to go, Jim. It's Xavier 99, Butler 96. Darren Fitzgerald has just hit another three-pointer. He has now 31 points on the night. Butler's still not out of it. They're going to fight him all the way down to the wire. That's the scene here at Market Square Arena.
Just a great comeback. Just a great comeback. Hopefully Butler can do something.
Boy, okay, we'll find out a little bit later on. Thanks, Jim. Back right after this.
Butler was down by 28 points. Bulldogs have gotten closer. The dramatic finish going on right now at the arena. Dick Ray, pick it up for us.
All right, Jim, that's Darren Fitzgerald trying to put up a three-pointer. Butler now trails by 4, 100-96 with 37 seconds to go in the game. This is good for Butler because the clock is stopped and they now have a chance to get within 2 points. After once trailing by 28, Butler had 10 turnovers in the first half. That pretty much told the story of that first half as Xavier jumped out to a 20-point lead in that first half. Darren Fitzgerald so far tonight with 31 points, as I mentioned earlier tonight, became the first Butler Bulldog to surpass 2,000 points for career scoring. This is the MCC tournament at Market Square Arena. The winner of this game between Xavier and Butler will play Loyola tomorrow night in the semifinal round. The winner of that game, of course, will move on to the championship, and the winner of this tournament has an opportunity to move on to the NCAA tournament. So this is a very important free throw series for Darren Fitzgerald, perhaps playing in his last game as a Butler Bulldog. The free throw is good. Now it's 100-97. We still have 37 seconds to go in the game. Xavier's Byron Larkin has scored 26 points tonight, and by virtue of that, he has become that school's all-time leading scorer. So we've had a lot of exciting action here as we have a timeout taken. Butler trailing by 3. Let's go back to the studio.
Well, the three-point play and the three-point rule and also the 45-second shot clock have helped Butler back in this one.
Last few minutes take forever, though.
Yeah, they do, just like television.
Back after this.
You can't get it much closer than this. Butler had trailed by 28 in this big tournament game. Now it's down to 2, 100-98. Xavier, another timeout, television or otherwise being called. But Dick, this is an incredible comeback. We have a second to talk. What has brought the Bulldogs back?
Well, pretty much, Jim, it's been the three-point shot, which has pretty much been the story of college basketball this season. Darren Fitzgerald hit a couple in a row, made a spinning layup move to get the Bulldogs under 15 points, and from then on they pressed after every basket. They've committed a lot of personal fouls, and they've hit their free throws. Darren Fitzgerald was able to hit that last free throw to draw Butler within 2. Then the Bulldogs fouled J.D. Barnett, and when we return to action, that's where we'll be. Xavier at the free throw line. A miss. Butler may have a chance to tie the game or perhaps even go in the lead. A once very quiet Market Square Arena has come to life, and that's the scene here at Market Square Arena. It's Xavier 100, Butler 98, 35 seconds to go. Back to you.
Of course, if this game goes into overtime, we got plenty of time to get down to the arena and watch the end.
Yeah, thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, Mike.
I think our time's up tonight.
And that's our news this evening. I'm Debbie Nye.
I'm Mike Ahern. Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned now for Magnum PI. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Area Youth Ministry needs you. Volunteers for speakers, fundraisers, and friends to youth in the Tech High School area. Call 635-4151 for information.